Ever feel like running a business is like, I don't know, entering a giant baking competition? Everyone's got a recipe, right? But how do you make yours the one everyone's dying to try to get a slice of? Especially when we're not talking about cookies here. We're talking about selling a whole, like, $1 million enterprise. So that's what we're really diving into today, making your business irresistible. Not just to customers, but to serious buyers, the kind with deep pockets. And lucky for us, those folks over at Zealot Profit Strategists, they've practically written the book on this.
It's interesting. They hit on something right away. It's not enough to just be a good business at this level. Not anymore. It's almost like, high-stakes dating. You've got to understand what the other side is looking for, what they find irresistible.
Okay, now that's an analogy I can get behind. So we're not just talking about, like, polishing up the old balance sheet a bit here. What are these buyers at this level really after?
They're looking for a future, not just a payday. Think reliability, scalability, and a market position so solid it wouldn't budge if a competitor sneezed in its direction. That's the thing. It's the difference between, say, buying a used car that's been, meticulously maintained versus, a bit of a clunker.
Yeah.
They want to see you've been under the hood, so to speak.
All right, so how do we, as business owners, pop the hood and show off that irresistible engine?
Well, the article, it breaks it down into 3 major areas, and this is where I think it gets really interesting, because it goes beyond just the numbers themselves.
Ooh, okay, I'm listening. Lay it on me. What are the magic ingredients?
So the first one, they call it financial foundations. And it's not just about having good financials, which obviously is crucial. It's about how you present them. Like, imagine you're about to be audited by the most meticulous accountant on the planet. Everything needs to be organized, transparent, confidence-inspiring.
It's like saying, here's my entire financial history. Have at it. No skeletons in this closet.
Exactly. Now, the second pillar, this is all about operational efficiency. Picture this. A potential buyer walks in, and your business is humming along, like a well-oiled machine, everything running smoothly, efficiently. That's attractive because it signals that they're not buying themselves a full-time headache. Right.
Right, because no one wants to inherit someone else's daily grind, especially not when they're dropping millions of dollars. So it's about demonstrating that you've got systems in place, things are documented, and even if you, the owner, suddenly vanish tomorrow, the business wouldn't skip a beat.
Precisely. And, this ties directly into that scalability factor we talked about earlier.
Great.
A buyer needs to see that as the business grows, which, let's face it, they're buying it to grow your systems, can handle that increased volume without, turning into utter chaos.
Makes sense, because if their big plans for expansion mean your entire operation falls apart, well, that's a deal breaker.
And that brings us to the third, I guess you could say, pillar of making your business irresistible. Growth potential. You're not just, selling a business at this point. You're selling a future, one that's ideally brimming with possibilities. You know what I mean?
Totally. It's like, are you offering to sell me an apple, or are you offering me the chance to own an entire orchard, right?
Yeah.
Investors, they want to see those money trees multiplying.
Nailed it. This is where you really need to showcase that strategic vision. Got a plan for expansion, develop the killer new product line. Whatever it is, you got to show them you're not content with just the status quo. You're hungry for more. And importantly, they can be a part of that exciting journey, be a part of the growth.
Right, because no one wants to feel like they're buying into like a get-rich-quick scheme that's about to fizzle out, right? You need to prove you've built something sustainable, something with real long-term potential.
100%. In fact, the article, it gives this great example just to illustrate. Imagine 2 coffee shops, okay? Both profitable, doing well, but one, they're content, happy with their loyal customer base, that's it. The other one, they've got this whole detailed plan for franchising. Market research, financial projections, the whole 9 yards. Which one do you think is going to command a higher price tag?
Okay, yeah, that's a no-brainer for sure. But here's the thing that always gets me. Even with all the pieces in place, the financials, the operations, the growth plan, all of it, there's still that nerve-wracking hurdle of due diligence. It's like, they're bringing in a microscope and putting your entire company under it.
It is. It's the ultimate trust but verify stage, And honestly, this is where all that meticulous preparation we talked about, it really pays off. The article, it really emphasizes this point. Having all your documentation in order, non-negotiable.
We're talking, legal documents, financial records, employee contracts, the whole shebang.
You got it.
But it's not just about having them, right? It's about how you present them, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Picture this, right? You walk into a due diligence meeting, and you've got, I don't know, a stack of papers, disorganized versus, you confidently open your laptop and you're like, here's our online portal. Everything's categorized, searchable, cross-referenced, you name it. One screams, amateur hour. The other, well, it whispers, like well-oiled machine.
I'm getting that well-oiled machine vibe just thinking about it. Okay, so organization, key. But I remember the article also mentioned something about addressing potential red flags proactively. Now, that sounds a bit scary, not going to lie. What if you uncover something you'd rather keep, under wraps?
Right, well, transparency, it can be terrifying. But in this scenario, it truly is the best policy. Here's the thing. Every business, it's got its blemishes, right? Maybe there was a dip in profits a few years back or a minor legal hiccup, something like that, trying to, sweep those things under the rug. It only erodes trust when they inevitably come out.
That makes sense. So it's better to, confront those issues head on. Show you've learned from them. And maybe even more importantly, demonstrate how you've prevented them from happening again.
You got it. Let's say, for example, you had a period of high employee turnover a while back. Instead of trying to hide it, you address it directly. Yeah, we had some challenges with employee retention, but we've since implemented a new training program, revamped our company culture, and our turnover rate is now exceptionally low. You see the difference?
Yeah, for sure. It's like instead of just ignoring problems, you're showing that you actively solve them, which honestly, that speaks volumes about leadership, about business acumen, all of that.
And that, at the end of the day, that's the message you want to send during due diligence.
It's like having a solid team behind you can make all the difference. But you know what really struck me about this article? It doesn't just stop once the papers are signed, It actually talks about the importance of what happens after the sale and not just for the buyer.
It's kind of like, throwing a party and, sticking around to make sure the guests had a good time, not just disappearing before the last balloons even popped.
Okay, I can picture that. So what does that look like in the business world, Being a good host after you've said sold.
Well, for starters, it means a smooth handover. You've, spent years, maybe decades building this thing, and now these new owners, they're stepping into essentially a legacy, right? Offering support, clear communication, maybe even some transitional training. Especially for key employees, those things can make all the difference.
Yeah, it's like you're passing a torch, not just handing over a set of keys.
Exactly.
You're invested in their success, even as you're, moving on to other things.
Right. And honestly, that approach, it can have a ripple effect. It impacts your reputation, how your employees see you, even how the new owners perceive, the business itself.
Makes sense. It builds that trust.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the seller for a second. The one who's, theoretically cashing that big check. The article also talks about planning for your own future after the sale, which I feel like that's something a lot of entrepreneurs, they don't even think about it until it's too late.
It's like the oxygen mask on an airplane, Got to secure your own before you can help anyone else.
Right, because what good are you to anyone if you're passed out in the aisle, right?
Exactly. And financially speaking, that means having a plan for all that capital, taxes, investments, estate planning, the whole 9 yards. You're playing in a different league now, financially speaking.
So it's not even just about what you do with the money. It's about protecting it, making sure it lasts, right?
Absolutely. But it goes beyond finances, too. This is a chance to, rediscover yourself a bit. Who are you without the business as your main thing?
That's a big question.
It is, but it's an important one. What are your goals now, personally, professionally? Maybe you want to start a new venture or travel the world. Mentor other entrepreneurs. Who knows?
It's exciting in a way, like a whole new chapter opening up.
Exactly. And sure, it can be a little daunting too, but with some planning, some self-reflection, it's an incredible opportunity.
I love that. Wow, we've really covered some ground today, from baking cakes to due diligence, deep dives. And now here we are contemplating life after the big exit, all thanks to this insightful article from the folks at Salant Profit Strategists.
It's been quite a ride, that's for sure.
Yeah.
The biggest takeaway for me, and this might sound odd, but this whole process of making your business irresistible, it really is a reflection of you, the owner, more than anything.
How so?
Well, think about it. The systems you put in place, the way you handle your finances, that growth plan you poured your heart into, it all speaks to your work ethic, your values, your vision. It's about building something that lasts, a legacy, really. It's bigger than just one transaction, one sale.
It's like the business itself tells a story. And that story, it doesn't end even after you move on, does it?
Not at all.
Wow. That is something to think about. Well, on that note, I think we've definitely given our listeners a lot to chew on today. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. And until next time, keep those entrepreneurial wheels turning.